Welcome to Women Awakening. I'm Cynthia James, and this network is about changing lives one woman at a time. Hello, and welcome to Women Awakening. We're changing lives one woman at a time. In fact, we're changing the planet, because this is the time that women are emerging, bringing their power, their wisdom, their light into the planet. And so I'm very grateful to be hosting this show, and I'm excited today because Arielle Ford is here. She's our love expert. And if you've been looking at any of these videos, then you know she's giving you extraordinary information. So welcome, Arielle.
Hey, Cynthia, good to see you.
It's really good to see you. So today, we're going to talk about letting go of the stories, right? The stories that we all care about what love isn't and doesn't do and who can't find love. So can we talk about this? Because I know you have a lot of stories and a lot of experience.
Yeah, it's so crazy. There are so many single women over 40, over 50, over 60 that are living in this story that all the good ones are taken, that there's no good conscious men out there. And if they are out there, they only want younger, prettier, thinner women. None of this is true, but that's the story they live in. And so I have three really fun stories to share to help people change their story. So the first story is about my friend Liz. So when Liz was 49 years old and never married, she decided that it was time for her to finally break through all her belief systems and find a husband. And she decided that she was going to try online dating for 1 year. And if that didn't work, then she was going to mortgage her house and hire a very expensive matchmaker. So Liz got really clear. We were recently talking about clarity. She knew what kind of man she was looking for. And she, you may know who she is. Her name is Liz Dawn. She owns the Celebrate Your Life events
Yes,
in Chicago. So her whole world is our whole world, self-help, personal growth, and one of her must-haves on her list was her soulmate had to be a Wayne Dyer fan. She didn't want to end up with anybody who A, didn't know who Wayne Dyer was, or B, didn't like him. And so she put herself onto Match.com, and she ended up going on 79 first dates in 9 months.
Wow.
79 first dates in 9 months. Now that doesn't count all the guys she went out with a second or third time. So she was really committed. In spite of being one of the busiest people I know, she went on these 20-minute coffee dates. And when she went on date number 80, she met the perfect guy. Not only was he a Wayne Dyer fan and had read every Wayne Dyer book, he was a holistic chiropractor nutritionist who loved all the same things she loved, fell in love with her, lived just 2 miles from her, but they would have never met had it not been for Match.com. And here's a picture of them at their wedding.
Oh, beautiful.
Okay. So this is what's possible if you're willing to put yourself out there.
So before you tell us, I just want to say this because this is what's so important, what you're talking about, because when I met Carl, I was really clear that I wasn't going to ever settle again in another relationship, that I needed someone who saw me and recognized who I was and celebrated it. And anybody who came into my field that didn't, it was a no. And the moment we connected, he saw me.
Yeah, and that's because you had such intention and clarity that you could not help but call in the perfect partner for you. You were willing, you were open, you were available, you were clear. And now, what is it, 20 years later?
23.
23. Oh my God, 20 years. Incredible. Yeah, you guys are perfect together. All right, so I want to tell you another story. This is about my mother-in-law, Peggy. And Peggy was married to Wayne for 55 years until he died. And then she was alone for 5 years. And then one day she called me up and she said, I'm ready for a relationship. I want you to tell me how to manifest a soulmate. And my immediate response was, but Peggy, you're 80. And she said to me, does that matter? And I said, well, I guess not. So I gave her a little crash course. And 3 weeks later, she called me up and she said, I have a date for lunch tomorrow. And I said, really? How did that happen? She said, well, you know my friend Connie? And I said, Connie, the realtor who's about my age? And she said, yes. She said, last night Connie came over with her computer and she took me, these are exact words, she took me on the World Wide Web to a place called Match.com. Have you ever heard of it? I said, yes, I have. She said, well, we went to the over 80 category and there were 3 men in my area. And one of them was a retired lawyer like my dear departed Wayne. And his name was John. And you know, I don't have a computer. I don't know how to get online. But Connie sent him a message and told him about me and included my phone number. And he called this morning and we talked for 3 hours. And he's invited me to lunch tomorrow. I said, oh my God, that is so fantastic. I said, I want you to call me when you get home. So the next day, I'm like sitting by the phone. It's 2 o'clock, no call. It's 3 o'clock, no call. It's 4 o'clock, no call. Now I'm getting worried because, you know, Peggy's too old to be driving at night. Finally, at 4:30, the phone rings. How was your date? Oh, it was fantastic. He's the most interesting man. We had such a great conversation. We like so many of the same things. And he's asked me out on another date. Oh, I said, great. When and where are you going? She said, on Friday night, he's taking me to Bible study course. I said, but Peggy, you haven't been in a church in 40 years. He said, well, I think this is a little bit different because we're not studying the Bible. We're going to be studying Marianne Williamson's A Return to Love. I said, okay, you just have to promise never to tell Marianne somebody called that Bible study. So she and John started dating. And then about a month later, I mean, they were seeing a lot of each other. She called me up and she was in a panic. And I said, well, what's the matter? She said, oh, I have a really big problem. I said, what? She said, John proposed. I said, well, what did you say? She said, well, I said no. I told him, been there, done that. I don't want to get married again. I'm going to die, Mrs. Wayne Hilliard. But I told him I'd shack up with him. I said, well, what did he say? He said no. He said, I'm an elder in my church. What will the church ladies say? So at that point, I put my husband, her son, on the phone. I said, your mom needs help. It was way outside my pay grade. We had a long conversation. And during that time, Marianne Williamson happened to call. And we were having this quick conversation. And I told her this story. And Marianne said, oh, honey, don't worry about it. Call your mother-in-law back and tell her I'll come to Portland and I'll do a spiritual ceremony for them so they can get married, but it doesn't have to be legal. It's like, oh my God, that's the perfect solution. So I get Peggy on the phone and I tell her, and she tells John, and everything looks great. And so they both sold their houses and they bought a cottage together on the grounds of an assisted living facility. Marianne never did come out to do that ceremony, but they worked it all out. And for the next 5 years until John died, they had an amazing relationship. And I want to show you their picture. Is it up? Oh, there
Oh, it is.
Aren't they cute?
Oh my God. Well, you know what? Okay, first of all, my heart just blew wide open. And I just want to say that is such a testimony that age has nothing to do with love.
Right? Because she could have said, I'm too old, I'm too fat, all the good ones are taken, which is what most people say. Those are the 3 highest excuses I get for why people aren't looking for love. None of which is true, you know,
Right.
And John just treated her like a queen. He just worshiped the ground she walked on. There were some crazy moments. Every time we'd walk into a room and they were together, they'd be kissing, hugging, canoodling. Oh my God. But yeah, they were very happy together. So, at 80 years old, it is possible to find love again.
So I just want to say to anybody who's looking at this, who's in some kind of transition period or concerned that there's not someone out there for you, think Peggy.
Yes. Yes. And the other thing to think is that there are something like, I don't know, 7 billion people alive on the planet today, and half of them are single. Okay, so there's no shortage. All there is your limiting belief, because just because you don't know where they are doesn't mean they're not out there. I know 2 women who found their soulmates within 100 yards. One, the guy was living 3 floors above her, but she never met him till she was on Match.com. The other one was a wedding we performed a few months ago. The guy lived across the street from her for 7 years, until one day she was walking down the street, saw him planting a tree, had a conversation with them. They fell in love. They just got married.
Love it. Love it.
I have one last story for you. And this one is a story I call It's Never Too Late. And it's the story of my friend Kimberly. And when I met her, it's got to be 30 years ago, and she was in her late 20s, one of the first things she told me was she couldn't wait to have kids. She so wanted to be a mother. And she was a very successful film producer in Hollywood. She had a great career, but just really sucked at dating and sucked at relationships. And it wasn't until she was in her late 40s, I think she was 48, she finally met somebody. She got married at 50, had already long given up the possibility that she was going to have kids, because the guy she married was younger than her and didn't have kids and didn't want kids. And then her doctor told her that she was healthy enough to carry a baby to term if she wanted to use a donor egg in her husband's sperm. And at 52, they had a baby. She carried
Wow.
baby Sky. And now the baby's 3 years old. She's never been happier.
Wow.
She had a baby. So, the whole story that it's too late for me, it's just BS.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way we beat ourselves up. Even our friend Louise Hay found love at 90.
Mm-hmm.
90, found another soulmate.
Right.
So it's only impossible if you say so.
Yeah, I just think this is so important, Arielle. A lot of people talk about, we live in a field of infinite possibilities, and yet when it comes to loving, it's like that field, we get pushed to the side. But the truth is, I come from a long lineage of failed relationships because people didn't understand loving and soulmates and connection and heart. And so I want anybody who's listening here to understand that with half the people on the planet single, there's more than one person looking for you.
Oh, John Gray actually thinks that it's probably a couple 100,000 potential soulmates for all of us. And I don't know how he did that math, but the truth is there's no shortage for us in the Western world in terms of fresh air and clean water. There's no shortage of love and potential love partners. So if you're not finding love, then just get a hold of me. I can show you how to do it. Just, go on to soulmatesecret.com. There's lots of things to find out there. I know without a doubt that it's possible for everybody. And regardless, even if you have physical disabilities, it's possible. There's I have chronic illness. Listen, at a certain age, we're all sick all the time anyway. Everybody's got something, and if they don't now, they soon will, so don't use that as an excuse. Look at Stephen Hawking.
That's right.
He had 3 wives, and all he could do was move one finger,
Right. Well, Arielle, thank you so much. And I'm going to reiterate what she just said to you ladies, that, if you want support in this area, go to her, soulmatesecret.com. She's not just my friend, but she's just so committed to bringing love to the planet, and love will not elude you. Just say yes. Thank you, Arielle. Thank you, ladies, and we'll see you on our next show. Blessings.